We are Rogue Media Sports.
It is the Cam Show on the Rogue Media Sports Network, breaking down week one of the NFL season and an unexpected Patriots victory. God, it feels like the old days. Oh, man, got to be the best Patriots victory in 2 years. Before we get into it, let's take you through it. Zach, roll the clip.
First play of the second quarter. Running play. It's Stevenson. Touchdown. Patriots strike first.
The corner.
Motion man Hudson. The throw caught. Hudson lost the ball. Looked like a touchdown. Instead, it's a turnover. No rush. Clean punt for Berenguer to try to pin the Bengals back. Jones from the 10. 54-yard kick. The ball pops free. Patriots have it. Turnover, Bengals. Made kicks of 32 yards, 35 yards, the 37-yarder. Is good. It's good! Burrow steps up, and Burrow is crushed at the 34 by Keon White.
Get that little tiger right there. Oh, wow.
He's on the ground with a touchdown. Stevenson still going. First down.
Just completed the Olympics. Cincinnati came in here wanting this to be sprint races. Didn't get it.
A new era in New England starts with an upset win. Jerod Mayo in his head coaching debut gets the victory in Cincinnati.
We are all Patriots, and tonight the Patriots are world champions.
All right. 1-0. No one thought they could do it. They have shocked the world in week one of the NFL season. Someone from Rogue Media Sports Network Survivor Pool is already out. We're going to talk to him later. It is the Cam Show on a Victory Monday, an unexpected Victory Monday. Patriots win it 16-10 in Cincinnati. A team I think that is going to be an AFC contender this year, a real legit Super Bowl contender. And they face the Cincinnati Bengals. Oh, it felt good. It felt good. It felt as good as a Patriots win has in a couple years. And it honestly, it makes me rethink a few things. Even after one game, I'm going to totally overreact here. I'm going to rethink some things. There was a point in that game where Jacoby Brissett was scrambling out 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, ran for a first down. It was like the second time he did it. And I had this thought. I thought, what kind of draft capital could you get in a Drake May trade right now when you extend Jacoby Brissett? That thought crossed my mind as the Patriots knock out an AFC contender in their own barn. But seriously, the thing that did actually stick out for me was they didn't shoot themselves in the foot. That didn't look like a team that's only going to win 2 football games. I know you're not going to win many when you're scoring 16 points. That's not lost on me. But the last couple years, especially last year, they looked the part of a team that was battling for the number 1 pick. Did they not? The penalties and the turnovers and the constant mental errors, lapses in special teams. They didn't do any of that in the game yesterday against Cincinnati. None of it. They looked a competent football team. And sometimes the last few years, even when they were winning some games, even when they challenged for a playoff spot to the last day in 2022, they didn't play as clean a game as they played yesterday. They didn't have a bunch of penalties. They didn't have procedural penalties, which looked like that was going to be the case with this offensive line. The offensive line was fine. They were okay. Talk about them in a minute. In fact, much better than my expectations. But they didn't dig themselves a hole on penalties. They won the turnover battle. They ran the football well. They played excellent special teams, which has really fallen off the map for them the last few years. They create a turnover on special teams. They had some great punt coverage all day, 3 field goals. It was like a blemish-free day. They controlled the ball. They controlled the line of scrimmage on both ends. They ran it well. They didn't commit penalties. They didn't commit turnovers. Though that's what the very worst teams in the league do. They do all of those things. Look at the Panthers yesterday. That is going to be the worst team in the league. They did all of that against the Saints. So that's why I'm like, I'm not saying they're going to be a playoff team or anything like that, but I'm now out of the mode of 1 or 2 wins. And watch, they're going to pull off some Jaguar shit and lose the next 16 in a row. But that just did not look like a truly bottom of the barrel NFL team to me yesterday. It didn't at all. And Brissett was okay for a guy who only threw for 122 yards. But again, he kind of had some shakeability, got out of the pocket a little bit, converted a couple of those third downs with his legs. In fact, Jerod Mayo said this morning on EEI, he said, which that was surprising because Mayo called him the slowest black quarterback in the NFL. His words, not mine. But that's what Brissett can, like, all the savvy veteran plays that you expect from a Jacoby Brissett, from a guy who's been around the block a little bit. He came up with them on Sunday. It's a couple of those where he knows he has the legs to run. Like, you have to respect that enough. You're not going to put a guy on him, but he can get there, right? There was a couple early in the game where he beat the blitz and beat the pass rush that was coming. Cincinnati typically is a very good pass rush, specifically with Trey Hendrickson, who didn't do much in this game. I thought he was going to have an absolute field day. He did not. And it was a core 4 gets subbed out early. He started the game at left tackle. They end up putting in Vidarian Lowe, who is, typically not that much better, but Lowe comes in and has a pretty good game, all told. And that was kind of a heartbeat for this Patriots offensive line, that they ran the football well. I just didn't think that was coming. I definitely didn't think that was coming in week 1, that they only allow 1 sack and their leading rusher, Ramondre Stevenson, goes for 120 yards. Because behind this offensive line last year, he was averaging 50 yards a game. You get him 5 yards a carry, 25 carries for 120 and a touchdown. That's a perfect day at the office for Ramondre Stevenson. And you saw it on that last drive, man. He was putting it on ice himself. He looked like 21, a little bit of 22, Ramondre Stevenson. Get a guy in space, get a smaller corner or safety on him, and he's either going to run over him or shake him out of his shoes. Like, he basically killed off the clock by himself at the end. A couple of first downs. They get the ball back. Cincinnati has essentially 4 timeouts, all 3 of their real timeouts, plus the 2-minute warning. And the Patriots never even get to third down. I'm sitting here thinking, are they going to have the firepower to keep the chains moving and run out this clock? And they did, like, big time. Never even got to a third down with it. Ramondre Stevenson, a big part of that. I understand there's not many games where you're going to win in the NFL where your leading receiver has 31 yards through the air. And that was Austin Hooper, by the way. But when you're holding a truly elite quarterback on the other side to 164 yards passing, you sack him 3 times, you turn them over once. That's how you're going to win games if you're this year's Patriots. Therefore, there's not going to be 11 wins on the schedule probably, but you saw a team that looked competent out there, that looked absolutely like a top 5 defense, and a quarterback who was efficient enough to the point where you say, Drake May, take your time. If it's a month, if it's 2 months, if it's week 16, take your time, pal. because we can do something, which I didn't think they were going to be able to do. I was on the show on Friday, Zach, saying this team was not going to win until I didn't feel good about one until November 3rd.
Yeah.
I did say there was a chance in this one, but I didn't really believe it, if we're being honest.
Yeah. Well,
November 3rd, I think, is what I pointed out. That's a long time.
it was, and I
They're
feel like
ahead
we had to have a talk. I don't remember if it was on air or off air of like, man, that's a mighty long time. Like they're gonna luck into one before that, I think. And not saying that they lucked into the one on Sunday, because as you saw in the clips there, like it was a pretty, like it. They
came
out
to play,
play,
man.
Yeah.
That defense, holy mother, are they physical? Which seems like such a baseline compliment for an NFL defense, but they were knocking the shit out of guys, man. It was, and I'll look back at that fourth down play, the third quarter. They pass up a 54-yard field goal, the Bengals do, to go for it on 4th and 2. They complete a pass and don't get it. Think about that. They completed a pass to that track kid, Yoshivas, and he got just stuck after a yard. One-on-one, hard tackle. That's what this Patriots team brings, man. DeMarcus Covington loves to bring the blitz, and they looked a really good defensive football team on Sunday. I was looking at the first 3 drives. The Bengals went 3 and out every drive, and Burrow had not thrown an incompletion yet. He was 5 of his first 5, but it was for 28 yards. They could not make a man miss at all. And it comes back to an awesome 2023 draft class, by the way, defensively. Keon White, that dude's a monster. And I said on Friday, I was like, I don't know. I love Keon White. I'm expecting a breakout season, or at least I was until a month ago, because then you trade Matthew Judon. Absolutely get that. And then Christian Barmore gets the blood clot problem, and we don't know if he's going to play this year. That's a tough break. But now all of a sudden there's a ton of attention on Keon White, a guy who is going to be your main pass rusher on the line in the front 4, and a guy who can also stay in there against the run. Keon White was awesome in this game. 4 tackles, 3 of them by himself, 2.5 sacks. He was all over these dudes. And there's one in the first quarter that he just abused whomever that Bengals left tackle is. Oh, wait, that's our old pal Trent Brown. That's who that is. Yeah, he went right by him. One move. I don't even think he touched Trent Brown. Just like quick swim right around him. Gets in there for a sack. Pitiful by Trent Brown. But where have we heard that one before? Keon White, terrific. The other guy from the 2023 draft class, Christian Gonzalez. Get to know him. Gonzo Island. It's coming to the NFL. It's a tough break. What happened to him early in the season last year in that Dallas game? He got the collarbone shoulder injury there. So he's essentially still a rookie. But you look at the receivers he's gone up against, and he has had very productive games against Tyreek Hill, against A.J. Brown, against Garrett Wilson, and now against Jamar Chase, because he locked down Jamar Chase in this game to the point where Chase after the game was saying, I had food poisoning yesterday. Bullshit, man. We are now in an era where all pro receivers are coming up with illnesses for why they couldn't get free of Gonzo Island. I am so here for this. We are witnessing the beginning of a truly, I think, special career at the cornerback position from Christian Gonzalez. He allowed 3 catches to Jamar Chase when he was covering him yesterday. He held Jamar Chase to 3 catches and 14 yards when he was on him. That's lockdown stuff. Christian Gonzalez, first round, 23, get to know him. I wish he'd still be eligible for Rookie of the Year defensively, because he was going to win it last year. He could have won it this year. He's now got the 0 on there. It's the aura is off the charts. Long, fast, young, shut down corner. And you have got a top 5 defense here, it certainly looks like. Keon White fits that bill. Christian Gonzalez fits that bill. Kyle Duggar had a pretty good game. Jabril Peppers, once again, excellent game. And you saw how fired up they were after the game, by the way. Peppers out there going in the tunnel. That's what we fucking do. Like, that's what we do. It's exciting to see them excited. The Gatorade shower for the head coach, I thought that was a little too far. This team used to celebrate winning Super Bowls. Now we're celebrating a week 1 win in Cincinnati. I get it. They love this guy. He's a former player. I'm sure he connects great with them. He played with one of those guys, Joe Cardona. He's got a couple of former players on the staff, recently retired players. So, like, I get it. But the Gatorade shower to win game 1, 16-10. I thought that was a little bit much, but good for Mayo, good for this team. Jacoby Brissett said he cried 3 times before the game, so that's something that's new. But I think it is pretty funny that the Patriots have now won a game without Bill Belichick as their head coach before Joel Embiid has reached the conference finals. I think that's a interesting little stat. But I'm already on the train for Keon White and Christian Gonzalez to the All-Pro teams. And I'll think about throwing Brissett my vote as well. Where this game changed, honestly, is in the second quarter, which seems bizarre, but I think it's true. The Bengals are going in for a touchdown that's going to tie the game at 7. They think they get one to Mike Gesicki, leaps up, makes this great play in the corner of the end zone. And I'm thinking, why can't we get guys like that? Why couldn't Mike Gesicki give us anything like that in 2 years? And Kyle Duggar said it right away, and I didn't notice it. I don't think many people noticed it until the replay. Incomplete. He kept saying they go to replay during a commercial, and that's exactly right. So roll back the gritty that Mike Gesicki was doing, touchdown off the board. Then the next play, it looks like they get a touchdown again. Another tight end whose name I don't even remember gets to the goal line. Kyle Duggar pokes it out. Marcus Jones recovers, and all of a sudden, the Bengals think they have scored 2 touchdowns and have 0 points for it. That's a massive, massive swing in that game. By the way, Patriots go down and get a field goal. That's a 10-point swing right there. And maybe I'm naive, but I thought something funny that, who was it, Charles Davis? I guess Charles Davis was the guy. He goes, I wonder why Mike Gesicki, why he doesn't get more catches. I just always see him make great plays when he gets the targets. And I'm like, well, in 2 years, New England, I could tell you a good reason why he doesn't get many catches. He's a fucking turnstile in run blocking. So that means he's not out there on the field. And when he is out there on the field, you know what they're doing. That's why. But he almost makes a great play. And when it is ruled incomplete, I think, there's my Mike Gesicki. That's my guy. Because I was ready for the whole thing. The splits of Mike Gesicki's career versus the Patriots versus being on the Patriots are staggering. He killed them with the Dolphins. And it looked like he was going to do it again with Cincinnati, but no go. And the Patriots go out there and stun the world. Am I saying 17-0? No, but I don't think like 14-3 is out of the question, honestly. And once this Rodgers experiment runs out with the Jets, and once we hit the Dolphins' greatest rival, the month of December, the Patriots are going to be right in this thing with Jacoby Brissett leading the charge. At least that's what I'm thinking. It was a great day for the current Patriots. Maybe not a terrific day for a former Patriot in the broadcast booth. Don't know if you've heard this, if anything, tipped your mind to it. But Tom Brady is in the broadcast booth now, kind of out of nowhere, kind of a surprise thing. We are going to break down the film of Tom Brady's first broadcast in the NFL with Paul Catalina next on the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. It is the Cam Show. It's powered by Rogue Media Sports Network, basking in the glow of a triumphant New England Patriots Sunday. I mean, to put the league back on notice, Paul. These Patriots are so back.
Yeah. I heard you say 14-3, Cam, which it's good. I mean, like, I didn't know that we were allowed to do heroin before the shows, but
I told you to make my show better.
But yeah, I mean,
as long as we keep it an hour.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried about you. I'm glad Pete's here. Pete does a recovery podcast, so we might need to get you in that one.
We have got all the people we need right here. Pete's going to talk me through it in the next segment, actually. He's going to talk me through my struggles here. But, look, I mean, with modern medicine, I don't think I can't live forever, but with modern medicine, I don't think it's crazy to think I can live to like 140, 150.
Yeah, no,
essentially the same thinking.
Yeah, no, look, Cam, 1-0 is the most optimistic time for any NFL fan base. I'm a Cowboys fan. Zach is a Texans fan. Pete, what's Pete?
Eagles.
Okay, we're not talking to Pete.
Eagles with his Jets posters on.
Yeah. So,
New York Pete.
But yeah, so 1-0. Everybody's 1-0. And so everybody in this room is 1-0. We're all happy. We're all optimistic. But here's the thing. You, as a Patriots fan, are the most spoiled in the room currently because you've had so many Super Bowls recently. Yeah. Zach doesn't know the meaning of true happiness because he's a Texans fan. Pete's doing well. I am in the desert, and I have decided that nothing in the regular season matters. I'll enjoy games piece by piece, but until the Cowboys are actually in the NFC Championship game, I will not be excited about anything. Like, truly excited.
I get that.
Yeah. I mean, everything.
To a lower scale. So stay with me here. Lower scale. That's how I felt with the Celtics this year.
Well, I mean,
it's like, unless they win it, it's a disappointment. And the Cowboys is a different thing because it's been so long. But
even still, like, it'd been a gap between the Celtics too.
For sure.
A nice little gap.
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is I'll enjoy seasons as they come. I'll enjoy games as they are. But when I look back on what my happiest memories are, they're not going to pop out of those seasons.
Yeah.
They're not really.
No,
I mean, like, unless they're really unique or unbelievable. But the seasons that are, like, you and I are both Red Sox fans.
Mm-hmm.
There are 4 seasons that we care about.
Yeah.
The other,
they had some good ones in there.
The other 120, like, great, like, fine. There were some nice moments, but ultimately, Dave Roberts stealing second base always brings a tear to my eye, and losing to the Astros in the ALCS a couple years ago, while that was a surprising run and I didn't think they were going to get it there.
It was a bummer, but
I've put it out of my mind and I've moved on, and I'm waiting for the next adrenaline shot from a team that can actually win something.
And what sucks for Zach too is he's a Rangers fan, and like most of the life that kind of sucks, but he did just kind of realize just for a minute what that means, what that true happiness is.
What I've always compared it to is,
and now he knows he's not going to get it for the Texans for a while.
There are fan bases that know what it's like, and I am a very spoiled sports fan. I went to Florida State. I got tons of national football championships. Mm-hmm. I'm a Cowboys fan, so I grew up and we won 3 Super Bowls when I was in high school or junior high and high school. I'm a Spurs fan, so I've had all of that. Like, I'm a Red Sox fan. Like, I've experienced titles.
Yeah.
Here's what I have had the top level of dining when it comes to sports. You know this.
Mm-hmm.
We have had. Pete knows as an Eagles fan now. Like, you've had that top level of just beautiful steak that falls off. It's the best cut of meat. We've had Kobe beef. And every other season is just a skirt steak compared to it. Zach, he was fortunate in that, like, he thought skirt steak was good. It's sustenance. It gets you through. Yeah. But now that he's had Kobe beef, his
mic works. I don't know why
just
he just held the sign, but
it doesn't taste the same. He's like, look, I can only put so much seasoning on this really thin, tough steak before it's over.
That is tough. And the reason why I've had such good cuts, sirloin, Kobe beef for so long was for that world famous color analyst, Tom Brady.
Yes. That's an unbelievable transition.
Paul, I bring you in because I need an objective viewer here.
Okay.
I watch the Cowboys games, and I think I have a little bit of bias when it comes to Tom Brady. He's one or two people in my life that I can never completely hold his feet to the fire. I can't do it.
Yeah. Okay.
And I will defend him at every level. So you're obviously a big Cowboys fan. You
Yeah.
cover a lot of Cowboys stuff.
Yeah.
You talk a lot of Cowboys on 365 Sports.
Yeah.
Which you do every day,
Yeah.
Monday through Friday. Paul
Mhm.
Catalina's top 5 at 5.
Yeah. Thank you.
5:55 actually. And so I was like, I need to get Paul in here. I know he was watching this
Mhm.
with more bated breath than I was, that was really into this. And so the reviews are in, and they are not good for Tom Brady week 1.
No. Look, here's what I will say. It is better than most week 1.
I thought that too.
It's better than most.
I've heard worse, man. I really
yes,
have.
I've heard a lot worse. And one of the worst in the entire business has one of the best gigs. And he works with Mike Tirico. I'm not going to say the rest of his name, but he's just not very.
It's
like,
just some player. Look how good this player is. Yeah,
he's
ridiculous.
But we had to watch Phil Simms for a long time. Phil Simms is very good in the studio. He's very, very good in the studio. He's colorful in the studio. He makes sense in the studio during games. And Tom Brady did this. He had a tick, which was, this is what we talked about, Jim. This is what we talked about. We talked about this.
Yeah.
Well, you and Jim talked about it at a place that none of us were.
Right.
Okay. We weren't there when you and Jim talked about it. We're only here now. So wherever that was, we weren't there. So you have to pretend, Phil, and maybe wherever you are, you think everyone is, but you have to pretend like you and Jim were the only people there, which you actually were. Brady said that a couple times yesterday, and I was like, oh, Tommy. Let's pump the brakes.
You can really only do that if you've discussed something like on that drive,
Yeah.
or like a play
we
before.
just
'Cause even
talked
if you
about
did
this.
it, yeah, even if you did it like a quarter before,
Yeah.
like you do have a new audience
Well,
in there.
yeah.
Like
What
you
did we
can't-
talk
that's
about in
TV,
the like? What did we talk about in the first quarter? Is
Yeah.
a great way to say this. And look, I've never risen to the level of Tom Brady. I've not like
yet.
The best that I can do national broadcast wise is occasionally people have called me to do sideline on national radio broadcasts, and sideline's a different thing. And Pete knows this well. Like if you're doing sideline on a national broadcast, basically the play-by-play guy goes down to you like, hey, what happened to that guy's leg? And you're like, he broke it, and then you're done.
Sweet gig if you can get it, man.
It's gross. Where's my $200?
Nice. That's most of my days, actually. Most of my working days.
That
gross.
hit was
Where's
so
my
hard it
$200?
made me. Yeah, that hit was so hard it made me question my belief in God. Back to you, Pete. No, but it's so, I'm just a person who's done high school football for a long time and a little bit of college, and so, but I just know from watching. It is not as bad as there are worse broadcasters out there than Tom Brady right now. And he just had his first big test.
Yeah.
He also has to make a decision. Do you want to be the best broadcaster there is, or do you want to be a part owner of the Raiders, hoping for Mark Davis to croak and then you can get a group together and buy the whole thing? Like that. Do you want that? Because if he wants to be the best broadcaster possible, he needs to just withdraw his interest in the Raiders and go full force into what they're paying you nearly $40 million a year for, which is being the best broadcaster. And on the Aikman scale of great quarterbacks who became great analysts, he's not doing that right now. Troy Aikman, his business interests are outside of the NFL, and they're not going to conflict with that. Tom has to make that decision. I think the NFL is telling him, like, you can be one of these two things. You can't be both.
Yeah.
Because again, the other owners aren't going to want him walking through, like, getting the behind the scenes stuff that he gets as a broadcaster. So he has to make that decision. And once he does, I think he will make the decision of, I'm going to take the sure money and not the Raiders thing. But we don't know. I mean, Tom Brady's never been told no recently, so
not in a long time. You're right.
I mean, other than the hey, crypto is bullshit, like that's the only L he's taken. That and apparently Krav Maga teachers can really
I was gonna say the marriage thing
can really do things. But I've
heard anyway.
Yeah, crap. My wife really is in this karate.
She's really doing it a lot, isn't she?
But she
big into it.
She's gonna fight Johnny Lawrence. I don't know. It's
they mentioned something about Brazil during the broadcast yesterday about the game on Friday being in Brazil. And I was like, man, there's such a great line here for Brady, and I don't think he's going to use it. But it's something along the lines of like, I'm not as popular in Brazil as I used to be, or something like that. Like, would have been just perfect, great.
Yeah.
This is I need to write for Tom Brady.
I guess the roast is over. That's
I guess we're putting that behind us.
I will say this, and you get better broadcast to broadcast. You know what you did wrong. Yeah. Pete does play-by-play every week, and so he knows. I'm sure he's got games where he's like, man, that was the best I've ever done. And then you have a game maybe right after where you're like, oh gosh. Sometimes it's the game. Sometimes you cannot dress up a game. You can't. There's nothing you can do about it.
Lipstick on a pig.
Yeah. Look, you went to see the play. The actors didn't do you any favors. You can't really do that. But you have days where the game is fine, it's normal, and it's your job to make it better. Like you're the sauce on top of the cake, right? And he just wasn't that yesterday. He clearly knows everything he needs to know. Like
I would hope so. Anyway,
there's no doubt about that. He knows everything beyond anything he would need to know to be good at it. I think he also comes from a place, and I hope people realize this. He's replacing someone who's really, really good at that job in Greg Olsen. And I think that people maybe didn't appreciate Greg Olsen for how good he is at that. And so if you're listening to Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady, and you listen to Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olsen, you see that obviously there was a built-up chemistry there. Mm-hmm. Greg Olsen has much more personality, I think, than Tom Brady. Not that Tom Brady doesn't have personality. We know he has personality, but just
it's been covered for a long time.
But it's just
kept within himself for a long time.
Tom needs to find that. I think that's what Romo is really good at early, and then Romo quit watching film, and he's had to
that was a big bummer for me. I was such a big early Romo fan,
and I think you'll see it come. You've seen it come back a little bit last year.
Everyone saw that
come back because he took the criticism in hand. Like I think the criticism was also from CBS. It's like, hey, paying you a lot of money. Yeah. So we don't want to hear the same things we heard about your predecessor. Like be who you were before. And he didn't have to study film before because he was just off of it, and then he quit and now he's back. So it's a work in progress. I think he'll be fine. Will he be John Madden? I mean, I don't know if anybody can be, will he be better than Collinsworth? Yeah, I think so. Will he be better than Olsen? I don't know. Greg Olsen was a really fantastic tight end for a long time. He's an even better broadcaster.
What's he doing though?
He's on the
Did
two.
he just get moved to the B team?
They moved him down to the second team. But if I'm any other network that might need to spruce up an old sounding booth, I'd be looking at Greg Olsen. Bottom line, I don't know what network that is.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're trying to figure that out. Yeah. I wonder. I do want to, before we continue on with this, because I have thoughts. I have thoughts on this Brady thing, but we have the tape.
Okay.
And by that, I mean the NFL put out, Paul, this YouTube video.
Yeah.
And it was like all the best calls from Tom Brady in his week 1 analysis. They have played this up so much to those weird hype videos. I don't know if you saw those the night before. I'm like, okay, we get it. He's going to be in the broadcast booth, but they've invested a ton of money and have been playing this up for 2 years now. So I'm just going to go with the top 2, the first 2 that they open their video with of Tom Brady's best analysis from week 1.
I think he's going to be dealing with this type of pressure. Talked about this with some of these young offensive linemen. Tomlinson just gets by Martin. Nothing the quarterback can do when you're standing there and they get to the middle of the pocket. What a catch and what a throw. That's tight coverage on Ward. We love talking about that matchup all week. What's it going to be like with CeeDee Lamb and Denzel Ward? And
where can you get that anywhere else? Nice throw. Nice catch.
Yeah.
That and to your point earlier, by the way, that was Phil Simms in year 12.
What we talked about.
That was Phil Simms.
This is what we talked
every
about.
Sunday afternoon.
We talked about
to
this.
be fair,
we talked about this.
And
you know what?
I think there's something there's a hesitancy too, and that's game 1. I mean, that's I truly find this so truthful, so correct. Your first podcast, first radio show, first broadcast, it's always going to be your worst one.
Yeah. And if
he
it's
from
not,
everyone.
then you've defied the odds.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's probably an issue,
Yeah,
actually.
like if it's somehow not your worst, then you've defied the odds. First of all, he made a mistake on that call about he said he got by Terrence Steele. No, he absolutely bullied the best offensive lineman the Cowboys have in Zach Martin on that one play and lit Dak up. And then he didn't. The other thing he didn't do there, and he did it in the right time, because the thing is, play-by-play guys talking, you shut up. When he stops talking, that's when you go. And he waited for his moment, but he also probably should have let Kevin Burkhardt describe Dak getting lit up like that. That was one of the few really elite defensive plays the Browns made on the day. You said we talked about this. And then on the CD catch, he just had it all wrong. And it sounded like he was about to get it. Like he was about to ramp up the emotion, but something in his head, like he has a governor on it. No, go ahead and
do it, man. Cut it loose.
I think you have to figure out what is your too far one way and what is your too far the other way to find that nice in the middle. So you're going to have embarrassing calls. Like I've had them where I'm like, oh, I got too excited about that. And then you have that. Okay, well, I know that I need to be 90% as excited, because if I was 90% as excited, then that's a great call. The 100% as excited, then I've lost my mind and I've lost perspective here. But yeah, he needs more emotion. He needs to do that. And I think part of the problem is that he spent 20 years in the NFL being a robot.
Yes.
And that's
Forcibly
why he was so great.
Yeah.
And he can be a robot in the same way, but he's not going to lose anything because he lets his true emotions out now.
Sure.
As where if you're in the NFL and you let your emotions get the best of you, sometimes you can have poor performances. Here, nothing bad's going to happen to you, Tom, if you go whoa. I mean, that's all we need.
Yeah.
Is a whoa.
And I just don't want this next generation to remember him as the mediocre color guy and not the great quarterback that he was. Yeah. Because we've seen it before. Joe Montana gave it a spin, very short-lived. Was not good at it. Dan Marino, not a good analyst. So, it happens. And Peyton Manning, I think, is a fun analyst because he is folksy. He's not too much getting bogged down to the X's and O's, even though he could and be really good at it. But he's also got a folksy aspect that most former athletes don't have, let alone Tom Brady.
If you compare the Manning brothers on SNL to Brady on SNL,
well, yeah,
they lapped him.
Yeah,
they lapped him. Now Brady had a couple of good sketches in there, but you could tell he was like, "I'm an actor now. I'm an actor now. I'm an actor now." And he's been in movies and other things where he's been fine, But the Mannings in that same thing. I mean, Peyton Manning. I will tell you his episode of SNL as an SNL freak and someone who ranks episodes, it's top 3 all time. It was that good.
Really?
Writing,
it was definitely the best by an athlete.
Yeah, it's the best by an athlete, but it might be top 3 all time because he let the writers do their thing and he just went with it, right? He didn't fight him on it, and he fit well. He knew the assignment. Brady,
I'm glad he can be the GOAT in something.
Yeah, Brady knew the assignment, but he just doesn't have the button like Peyton does.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, it's different. So you got to be yourself, but he does need to let more of himself out.
Yeah.
And I think he has that. He clearly has a sense of humor about himself. He clearly has a sense of humor. He's not like this, but he also does not have to be Tom Brady 7 Super Bowls. He has to be Tom Brady, the analyst. Sure. So it's finding that different thing. But yeah, he was, I would give him a C+ on the first one.
Fair.
Because he knows everything. He's explaining it. He wasn't too technical, which I think is good. Sometimes guys can get in there. And I thought that was John Gruden's problem very early on. And then Gruden kind of got good at it because when he decided to tell me what Spider 2Y banana was.
Yeah, that helped.
It was better than him telling me
getting a glossary.
Because they use all these terms. So that I think that was better in my estimation. But it's going to take time. Don't be too much of a Chucky catchphrase. Don't be don't be too much of a robot, and you'll find it in there. He had no catchphrases, which I think is good.
That's a plus.
Yeah, you have to let him find you.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to be a great broadcaster. I don't think he's going to be one of the all-time greats. I think he will be fine. I think he will. Paul, thanks so much for coming on and breaking that down for me. I needed that because I thought he was terrific yesterday.
Anytime. I mean, anytime I get to see Pete,
that's really the treat.
I don't like you very much. I like Pete a lot.
We're coming around.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Zach, I did have to put the promise that Pete would be in here.
Yeah.
In order for you to say yes.
I actually married Zach. I mean, not married, like we're not married, but I performed his wedding ceremony.
As far as you all know. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say no if it pops up. I'll just say not right away.
In the future. I'm excited for you guys.
Yeah.
I am. We will have Pete. We are going to have Pete Souza coming up next on the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. Pete.
It's good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you.
Monday morning.
I'll get this out of the way because I need to bring this to the people's attention. You were big on this survivor pool, and you're like, we're doing this whether you guys like it or not. You practically like held a weapon to Mike's head to make him do it.
I like the action.
And I think the rest of us won. Did the Chargers win yesterday?
I was
I think you were the only one that lost.
Yeah.
Going with my strategy. My strategy.
It was one of those things where
Which is picking against the Patriots every week.
I wanted to there was a point this morning and even yesterday afternoon where I was desperate. I was like, how can I fix this? How can I still remain a part of this pool? Like, you know, when like the guy in the movie has been found out that it's illegal and they're dragging him away and he's like, no. And it, you know, like that's what I felt like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were like about to cooperate. You're about to be a witness.
Yes. There's got to be a way we can fix
this. You were going to rat people out left and right in order to stay in this pool.
Yeah, and I'm out. And I'm devastated. And truth be told, I was paying attention to pretty much every game but that one. So I wasn't notified until I saw Cam sent a text, like I guess 2 minutes after the conclusion of the game. And I was like, wait a minute, what? Of course I confirmed. And I was pretty upset.
You were the only one who had like more than a couple of minutes to even think about your pick on Friday. And that's what happens. God, that's so funny, man. That's so funny. By the way, I finished the Hope Solo thing. The last 25 minutes didn't change my opinion. Didn't change. I don't want to get too bogged down into this again.
My brother and I talked about it for a while.
And yeah,
it's nobody cares anymore, right? But
and I can understand why you wouldn't want to be friends with her. You know what I mean? It's kind of funny in a way that it came to that large a scale that like no one spoke out for her. No one was in the documentary. None of her teammates, I mean. And like, it's just one of those people that you're like, yeah, I don't like wish the worst on them, but like, I want them out of my lives.
That non-participation was about as telling
that says something.
Yeah,
man.
it says a lot. That says a lot. That says that she was.
And the whole time she's trying to make them out to be bitches.
Yeah, she was amazing at soccer and she got wiggle room because of how good she was. But she was a complete malcontent and probably a toxic person.
Almost certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you
Although
notice?
we do like toxic people here at Rogue Media.
Yeah.
We celebrate them.
And you certainly do.
I love them.
And I thought another telling thing, just as much as the non-participation, they do the Hall of Fame induction at the end of the documentary. And did you see who was presenting her?
Jeremy Stevens.
Her husband.
It was the only time we saw him in the whole documentary, really.
But like that's usually like
a teammate or a coach.
Or like a goalie coach.
Well, there's a
or
whole
one of your
thing
teammates
too,
for years.
And I'll say this again. I love being able to dip into this. My experience as a drug addict and then in sobriety. And I'm not saying Hope Solo is a drug addict or whatever, but they really did breeze by the drinking and driving with her kids in the car, where she was a complete mess.
Bro.
And I mean, that was like a drive-by. It's like, oh, by the way, this happened. That's like a huge thing. And
she was like asleep in the car.
And at the beginning of the show,
really not good.
At the beginning of the documentary, my brother even went back and watched it over. Somebody was pouring liquor into her cup, so she's still kind of getting after it. So whatever, you know, we wish Hope Solo well. She did a lot for American soccer.
She did
on the field.
She did. Pete, you just did a game.
Yeah.
You just did a game on Saturday.
North Texas and Stephen F. Austin. It turned out to be a better game than I had anticipated.
Who won? I didn't.
North Texas won. They're pretty good. The
They're
Morris.
not bad, man. UNT. Yeah.
Yeah. Chandler Morris. He didn't have it was kind of like, oh, okay, this is why maybe he was didn't start at TCU. He showed to be inconsistent at times, and also going to the sidelines pretty upset after he would make a mistake, and you could see a little tude there, like a quarterback who makes a mistake.
Sure.
But they're 2-0. They're probably going to make a bowl, North Texas, which is pretty cool.
And they're probably going to be 3-0. They play Tech this weekend, so
that I'm going to keep an eye on that. There's a lot. That's pretty cool. Eric Morris, their coach, was a punt returner for Mike Leach, so there's some fun stuff there.
Dude.
Their offensive coordinator played at Tech as well. So there's some pretty cool ties.
Did I tell you about this book I'm reading? It's basically about Hal Mummy.
No.
It's a book called The Perfect Pass. And if it wasn't football season and I didn't have 7 jobs going right now, I'd have finished it in like 4 days.
Is he alive?
Yes,
Okay.
he is. Yeah. And it is just like the birth of his style of offense. And so like I'm at now where he's at Iowa Wesleyan. And so he's just brought in this renegade maverick coach who has a law degree from Pepperdine, guy by the name of Mike Leach. And he's trying to convince the local high school football star to come play quarterback for him, but Dana Holgerson has too many offers.
No.
Like this, it's gonna, and we're like at the beginning of just elite name dropping, but it's a fascinating book. Like the guy goes through the history of passing offenses, really, Mouse Davis and June Jones and goes all the way back. He's talking Dutch Meyer at TCU. Dutch Meyer or Dutch Leonard? What am I missing here?
I think it's Leonard.
Anyway, Sid Gilman, Sammy Baugh, like he goes deep into it, but it's really how Mummy, like trying to figure out, like he does it out of necessity. He's coaching at some of the worst football programs in America. He was the OC at UTEP, and then he like is without a job. He coaches Coppers Cove High, which is right down the road from us, Robert Griffin III's alma mater. But as they note in the book, like no history, tough place to coach because it's a huge like transient population because they're all at the military base. And he's like, it's the worst college football or the worst high school football job in Texas. And he starts implementing this offense and he goes to Iowa Wesleyan, which is the worst program in all of college football.
Yeah.
And he's like got nobody on the team. He's got like 2 players. It's fascinating so far.
Yeah. That is a book that I will for sure get into.
I can give it to you afterwards.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to listen to it. So you can't give it to me.
You're one of those, aren't you?
I listen. I do. That's really how I retain information, through listening. I'm dyslexic. I have like all kinds of.
I guess that's fair, dude. I had this kid I went to high school with. It was funny. We were at a lacrosse like team dinner one night. This is like junior year of high school, small town. So we've all been going to school together for like 10 years. And this kid is like, I don't even know how this came up, but one kid goes like, dude, why do you know how to read? And the kid's like, what are you talking about? And he was like, I just remember like every time they had you read out loud in class, you like couldn't read. And everyone's like kind of awkward. And this kid's like, well, I am dyslexic. And the other kid is just like, oh, I guess that makes sense.
Thanks, Cam.
Like, fuck you, man. I'm dyslexic.
Well, I'm telling you,
that's why couldn't you read out loud in class? Poor kid,
there's a
man.
lot too.
Probably thought about that more than any of the rest of us ever thought about it.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
I mean, really being dyslexic,
yeah.
they send us out to my day and age, the short bus and all that stuff. So I had to bounce back.
Were you on the short bus?
I mean, they had a reading van at the Catholic grade school that I went to. And there were like 4 of us that would go out there and be with Mrs. Campbell. And we would be in the reading van, which was like
during the
trailer.
During the school day?
During the day.
Gotcha.
They'd be like, okay, everybody else is going to do their class. Pete, you and Matt and Jim, you guys head over. Yeah.
That's tough.
Mrs. Campbell was nice, though. And then I ended up reading for a living. I mean, on the air. So it's all BS. You just got to, I don't want to say like, dyslexia.
That's why I'm
BS,
surprised.
but
you could do the prompter. You did prompter for years, man.
Yeah, well, I was awful when I started. Well, we can talk about that later. But it was
that's impressive, though.
Yeah, it was. I mean, and I got real good at it. The repetitions were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man! But if they could have, they would have put you on the short bus.
I mean, for all intents and purposes,
wild.
I was.
Which is wild.
I was on the short trailer outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Learning how to read.
Short trailer outside.
It was rough, man.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you watch any good movies this weekend?
No, but I'm watching The Perfect Couple on Netflix, and it's really good. I mean,
it's a movie or
huh?
Is it a movie or one of their series?
Okay, it's a show.
Okay.
It's based in Nantucket.
Movies,
Based in Nantucket, which you have me right there. It's a super wealthy family.
That's where Mike thinks I'm from.
Liev Schreiber's in it. Nicole Kidman, Dakota Fanning, and it's kind of like a whodunit. I'm 3 episodes in. It's pretty good.
I did watch. Did we talk about HBO sports documentaries last week?
A little bit.
I watched one over the weekend, the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry.
Oh,
which is fantastic. And I used to watch that like 2-3 times a week as a kid, like because it was just free and available, and I was so into like historical stuff.
That's
and it's
pretty cool.
Really well done.
Question for you.
Yeah.
How many gummies this weekend?
It was good weekend for it because Baylor was not at home, so I didn't need to do the kickoff show, and they played in the afternoon, so it was done by the evening. So I had one of each the last 2 nights. Friday night was high school football, so I didn't. But once I got my work done,
and the game went well.
it went well. China Spring won. Did a good
Rogue,
broadcast.
by the way, Rogue Media for the win.
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
Big time.
Yeah, Rogue Media is making it happen.
Rogue Media.
I'm talking to Mosley on my show at 1:30. I want to talk. We're going to talk about the Cowboys. He's going to do a phoner, Zach. All right.
Is that going to be every Monday?
I'm trying for him, but he's tough to nail.
Tough guy to get a hold of.
Well, I mean,
tough to nail down. He's got a lot going on during the day.
To ask Matt to take time out of his schedule. So I'm working on it.
Far be it from you.
But I really do love Mosley. And I love what we're doing here today at Rogue, and I'm curious to see what Matt has to say about the Cowboys yesterday because I have some pretty good questions.
What's your favorite adult animation show?
Adult, probably, The Simpsons. But every time I see Family Guy, I'm like, I leave it on. Like,
dude, old Family Guy was fucking phenomenal.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. I mean, it was.
I hate to sound like that old guy.
No, it was.
It was
special, dude. It was. Special.
And same with old Simpsons, but that's not a hot take, right?
No.
Like once you hit like 2000 or so.
Yeah.
I love that. I rewatch those all the time because I was just watching I watch a lot of like Simpsons video essays on YouTube too. So
by the way,
like Pete's like in that wheelhouse.
I got a little bit of breaking news for you.
Okay.
All right.
As we end the show.
I just learned when I was sitting over there, and we'll talk about this on my show. I will. Carol Dawson died. Carol Dawson, Baylor legend, Baylor basketball player, Baylor head coach. You know this, right?
Yeah.
Rockets
coach
GM,
Tommy Bowman,
and coach for 27 years. I think, if I'm not mistaken, guys, he was the back-to-back Rip City Rockets, right? Yeah, GM. So, R.I.P. Carol Dawson, a legend. I got to send a text to our buddy Jim Haller. I'm sure he's bummed.
Yeah, that's
he gave Jim
the old coach. Yeah,
yeah, old Baylor head coach.
Yeah, man, that's news to me. That is too bad. That is the guy whose name doesn't get brought up probably as much as it should.
Dude, not even close.
Like we're talking. I mean, now you're an executive that's that good, and you get on the NBA countdown afterwards, even though you're not a good TV personality. So that he orchestrated those teams. Wow, that's too bad.
Yeah.
And also brought in the first black player ever to play in the Southwest Conference. Or for Baylor.
Nice.
Sorry.
That's great, Cam. That's
for Baylor. Tommy Bowman.
Okay.
Yeah, R.I.P. Carol
Tommy
Dawson.
Bowman just put a book out, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was in the last year.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Pete Souza, thank you.
Kim, you're doing a great job. It's fun. It's always fun being in here.
I'll be in for your show.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
Can't wait for it. That is the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. Thank you guys for coming along. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram as well. That's in the description below, as well as our voicemail call-in number. Leave some voicemails for the show. We'll get it on the air for you, and we will be back tomorrow breaking down some more Patriots Super Bowl talk on the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network.